What's going on, guys? Phantasm Mask here, and I wanted to go on ahead and announce that there isn't going to be a Pwnecast this week due to the holidays, so I figured I'd take it upon myself to do my first ever Game of the Year video on this channel. And Game of the Year has been something that I've thought very long and hard about this year, mostly because it's been a difficult year in terms of gaming, in terms of myself, with my own personal situation, so it's a very hard thing for me to come up with a short, concise list of what games I think were the best this year. And as I got to thinking about this long and hard, I started to remember that there really wasn't anything this year that stuck out. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of any, even a AAA title that I thoroughly enjoyed this year. Now, I want to go on ahead and throw out that I have not played. There are two games here that I cannot include into this grouping, and that's Hitman Absolution and Far Cry 3. I haven't got my hands on those yet, but I hope to get on them pretty soon. I just haven't had the time really, or even the money to go out and buy these two games. So they're not included in this whole Game of the Year situation, sadly. But they are games that I want to try out and play. But as for 2012, looking back at the games that I have played, you've got Assassin's Creed 3 that came out this year. You had a new Call of Duty. You had several other new titles come out. I think The Witcher 2 finally made its way over to the Xbox 360. You had Mass Effect 3 in March, which to me, it was hard for me to believe that. Did Mass Effect 3 really come out in March of this year? So, after thinking long and hard about this entire subject, I'm not going to give anything Game of the Year this year, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't think that there has been a game that has come out in the year 2012 that is worthy of the title of Game of the Year. Every single one of these titles that I've played, whether it's Mass Effect 3, Assassin's Creed 3, or another 3 that's thrown out there, I can't seem to find any good games that came out this year. I can't say that I'm not that big into Borderlands, so Borderlands 2 wasn't really that big of a deal for me. Assassin's Creed 3, I have strong feelings about that game. I wanted to review it, but I didn't. The gist of that is that I don't feel like it really should be. The whole half of the game is a tutorial level. And that frustrates me. The fact that I'm spending half of the game learning how to play a game which we've already established how to play this type of game, for, I think it was four more games? One, two, yeah, for 4 more games. For previous games, we've already learned how to play. I know how the system works. I don't need the game holding my hand for 6 sequences. It's completely uncalled for. So Assassin's Creed 3, while it was a highly anticipated title in my house. I mean, my brother's a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and I don't really know what his final impressions were on the game. I think he just flat out liked it. So for me, Assassin's Creed 3 really was not that great of a game. And sadly, I believe that franchise is going to quickly become the Call of Duty style franchise where we release 1 game a year. Which, speaking of Call of Duty, for the past few years, I've never really been too big on Call of Duty. I played Modern Warfare 3. I really didn't get much enjoyment out of it. I did play Black Ops for a little while, and I mildly enjoyed the campaign, and I really loved the Zombies mode. However, online, with the way they had that set up, just completely irked me. I had no desire to go too in-depth online. And I'm always usually wary about discussing a first-person shooter when it comes to Game of the Year. And this kind of harkens back to my old channel that I used to have because I did a 2011 Game of the Year video on there, and I never included first-person shooters into that category because my personal philosophy, I don't believe that most first-person shooters should be allowed in the running for Game of the Year, especially the Call of Duty franchise, which the installments are so much similar. It's hard even sometimes to tell the difference between some of the games. They look the same, they use the same engine, some of them use near identical weapon sets. while I do try to commend Black Ops 2 for going a little bit different with their weapon sets, after playing a few matches of that and with the weapons, yeah, they have a different name, yeah, they have a different look, but they all act the same. Well, I'm not saying every weapon in the game acts the same, but in terms of the predecessors in their different games, okay, that game is that this weapon, even though it's not called an M4 and doesn't look like one, acts exactly like the M4. It's probably the best example I can give, is that the weapons really aren't that different. Also, even though I've only played a few matches, I've heard horror stories about this game and how it's completely, it's not that good of a multiplayer experience. And I really attribute that to the fact that these games are so rushed that they only work on them for a year and then crank them out. It's a franchise that either just needs to take a break for a few years or just needs to stop entirely. That's my opinion on the Black Ops franchise, and why I don't put first-person shooters in the running for Game of the Year or anything like that is because of that one factor. So many of them are alike that I can't bear to have one in the running, so I just do a King of Shooters for that year, which is dedicated to first-person shooters. And in that regard, when it comes to an FPS, I have to stand by my decision from last year, and that's Battlefield 3. It's still releasing expansions, and it's still it's an overall better multiplayer experience than playing a Call of Duty game. Um, but it seems that the trend for this year was HD collections. If you are really big on playing games from the past generation, then this was the year for you. I mean, you've got stuff from Devil May Cry's HD collection, which is okay. You've got the Zone of the Enders HD collection, which was pretty good. It was the first time I ever got the chance to play the second runner. So this was the year for HD collections, and I love that a lot. Especially with the PlayStation 3 having a complete lack of backwards compatibility for the PlayStation 2, unless you buy a PS2 game from PSN. I thought that having an HD collection for PlayStation 2 games is a fantastic idea. Yeah, I am paying a little bit more money in order to play these games than I should. The retail price for Devil May Cry HD when it came out, I think, was $30 or $40. So that's a lot for 3 games that a few of them are over 10 years old. And with Zone of the Enders, there's only 2 games in there, and I paid $60 for the limited edition. So that's $30 a pop for that game. But both of those games are really good. I didn't have much of a problem with that. But so many other HD collections came out, especially if you're playing on the PlayStation 3. You had Ico Shadow of the Colossus. You had some of the God of War PSP games make their way onto the PlayStation 3, and you could play them on there. The original Killzone got a kind of HD touch-up. Still doesn't change the fact that the game is still broken as hell, but it was nice to play through something like that again. Even Mass Effect. The first Mass Effect, when they ported it over to the PlayStation 3, they worked out a few kinks, and I've been playing through that right now. Notice the difference between the Xbox version and the PS3 version is the load times on the PS3 are a little bit longer, surprisingly, but overall it runs a lot smoother. But this was the year if you were a gamer who enjoyed the last generation of games. We've had HD collections coming out the wazoo. It seems like they're not going to stop with a Hitman collection coming out in January, which I'm excited about, which includes Silent Assassin, Contracts, and there was another one, Blood Money? Yeah, Blood Money. Silent Assassin, Blood Money, and Contracts, I think. So I can't wait to get my hands on that. That's going to be a pretty awesome collection to have. Splinter Cell had an HD collection. Ratchet and Clank. Just a whole bunch of HD collections like you wouldn't even believe. Microsoft, not really, unless it was a multi-platform HD collection like Zone of the Enders or the Devil May Cry collection. They really didn't get too much, which is sad. So Game of the Year wise, the only thing that I can give it close, I can't, again, I can't really think of anything, but it was a very poor segue into my next point. And that's my biggest disappointment of the year. there were a lot of games that had come out this year, like Assassin's Creed 3, that really just disappointed me on almost every level. And surprisingly, that's not the game that I'm going to give this title to, but I would have to say the biggest disappointment of 2012 to me was Mass Effect 3. And I know everybody's probably already seen this coming on everybody's list, that this is, oh, well, yeah, of course. But my reasons are a little bit different from everybody else in the fact that I really loved Mass Effect 1. I didn't like Mass Effect 2 that much because it started to head down this wrong road. And then we get to 3, which is not even a finished game at launch. So 3 is probably the biggest disappointment for me this year. It was supposed to end this trilogy. Also, they weren't supposed to make any more Mass Effect games, and then Mass Effect 4 gets announced. So, with that being said, Mass Effect 3, I'm sorry, but you just dropped the ball completely. And sadly, that's how you'll be remembered in gaming history, as the franchise kind of dropped the ball. So, with all of that, but I can tell you that 2013, especially in the first few months, does look somewhat
promising. I know we have a lot of EA games out, and I am very wary when it comes to playing any games done by EA. Which you got Crisis 3, you've got Dead Space 3, which I'm actually not looking forward to Dead Space 3 because of co-op. Uh, the Last of Us, which looks okay, but I have a feeling that there's a lot more that they're not advertising about this game that's going to make it even more generic than what it looks like. Um, oh God, what else do we have? Um, we got a new Metro game coming out. Surprisingly, the creators of Homefront managed to get enough money to make a sequel. So that's going to be very weird for me to play because I didn't like the original Homefront that much at all. So it's going to be a very strange game for me to play, and for some reason I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's a very, very Red Dawn-esque game that came out. I think it came out last year in 2011, so it's going to be a strange title. We also have Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which I'm really not looking forward to, but I'm going to wind up buying it anyway because Metal Gear, and I mean, there's some of the enders over there. Because I'm not a Kojima fanboy at all, which that's a subject for an entirely different video. And so Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, even though I'm not really looking forward to that, the strong possibility of a new console being announced from Microsoft, which the second that that gets announced, I'm probably going to get the guys together and we're going to do an entire podcast about that. Once tech specs are released for this thing, I guarantee you that, the drunk Irishman from New Jersey is going to come out, and 1 week contract Matt is going to be there, and we're going to give you all of our opinions on the tech specs and on the new Microsoft console when that stuff gets released. So, in conclusion, no game of the year. 2013 somewhat looks promising. There are a few games here and there. Probably the game I'm looking forward to the most in 2013 is probably Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, just because that game looks amazing. I can't. I just need to wait and see how some of the gameplay is going to work, more of the refined stuff when they finally get to that. But even then, that game's probably going to come out late next year anyway. So I expect them to keep on cranking out more HD collections. So that's going to be my primarily what I purchase. The PS3 or the 360 for that matter. They really don't have things that come out like that. Well, the 360 kind of gets the shaft when it comes to HD collections. Sony's been really good about re-releasing their stuff. I hope to maybe acquire a PlayStation Vita sometime next year so I can start playing games on that and reviewing those. Um, and I don't know. I've just really been on a Sony kick lately ever since I bought a PlayStation 3. My 360, aside from a few games, has just been really sitting there collecting dust. Um, really been playing catch up with the PlayStation 3 is essentially what I've been doing. So with that being said, I wish all of my subscribers and viewers happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I don't care.
Just get out there, be with your families if you can, have a great time. If you're into getting plastered on Christmas, yeah, don't drink eggnog. I recommend something else. And also, I do have a question for my viewers about Christmas and what you eat on Christmas. My family fixes ham for Christmas, and I know other families fix turkey for Christmas. Personally, I would prefer turkey, and I know there's going to be people out there that'll be like, okay, ham is the only way to go. So, which do you prefer, ham or turkey for your Christmas dinner? As I said, turkey all the way. Not really that big a fan of ham, but you put a few slices of bacon in front of me, and I am a very happy, rotund man. So, happy holidays again. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope 2013 is going to be a very eventful year on my channel. So, Phantasm Mask here, signing out.